Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right into it because right now in 2026, there is a massive economic mystery unfolding. Some are actually calling it the silent crisis, this really sharp, sudden devaluation of the Indian rupee against the US dollar. If you've been watching the news at all, or honestly just checking your own bank account, you know something big shifted this year. But what is actually going on behind the scenes? Well, today we are going to break down this entire macroeconomic puzzle.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the falling Indian rupee, the drivers of the decline, the winners and losers, defending the currency, and finally, growing an export economy. All right, Section 1, the falling Indian rupee. So I want you to just think about this for a second. Why is petrol suddenly way more expensive, or cooking oil, or, just your everyday essentials? You might have noticed a commercial LPG cylinder recently spiked by almost 1,000 rupees. That pushes up costs for restaurants, which feeds right into retail inflation. And it's so easy to just blame the local vendor or the gas station, but the real answer actually lies thousands of miles away, completely hidden in the global currency markets. To really wrap our heads around this, we need a super quick refresher on the exchange rate. Simply put, it's just the number of rupees you need to buy one single US dollar. When people say the rupee weakens or falls, all that actually means is you have to hand over a lot more of your hard-earned rupees to buy the exact same dollar-priced imported stuff. And here is the staggering number for 2026. 95. Literally, in just a couple of years, the rupee dropped from roughly 83 to the dollar all the way past 95. That is a loss of nearly 14% of its value. Imagine your household budget for groceries was 8,300 rupees. Suddenly, those exact same items cost you 9,500. You are effectively poorer in purchasing power, and you didn't even change your lifestyle at all. That is exactly what rupee depreciation feels like on a national scale.
Which brings us to Section 2, drivers of the decline.
First up, the big one. India imports a whopping 85% of its crude oil. And here's the kicker. That oil is priced and paid for in US dollars. With global energy markets going a bit crazy and pushing Brent crude to around $113 per barrel, and the Indian crude basket averaging over 114, our import bill is just skyrocketing. Because we need so many more dollars to buy that expensive oil, we literally have to sell massive amounts of rupees just to get them. And that heavy reliance on imports feeds right into our next big driver, the trade deficit. A trade deficit is basically this persistent gap that happens when a country buys more from the rest of the world, things like oil, electronics, gold, than it actually sells. So India is constantly selling rupees to buy dollars to pay off foreign suppliers. And sure, India earns foreign exchange through software exports and remittances, but lately, it's just not enough to cover that massive import bill. Think of it like this. Imagine a local market where there are only 10 mangoes left, but there are 100 people who desperately want to buy them. That high demand makes the price of those mangoes absolutely soar, right? Well, the currency market works the exact same way. When the whole world, India included, desperately needs dollars to pay for global goods, and very few people are looking to buy rupees, while the dollar becomes incredibly expensive and the rupee gets cheap. So it's basically a perfect storm of four factors. We've got the heavy crude oil imports and that persistent trade deficit we just talked about. But add to that a remarkably strong US dollar, which is being driven by high American interest rates. See, global investors love high returns and safe havens. That has led to a staggering $21.2 billion in foreign portfolio investor outflows from India this year alone. They are literally pulling their money out, selling rupees, and buying up dollars. Let's move to Section 3, winners and losers. Now, a falling currency isn't actually universally bad for everyone in the country. For the common citizen, yeah, the effects are really tough. You get costly petrol, imported inflation driving up the cost of everyday food items, and way more expensive tuition if you're trying to study abroad. But look at the flip side. IT giants like TCS and Infosys, who earn all their revenue in dollars, suddenly get way more rupees when they convert their profits back home. Exporters essentially get this massive financial windfall just because the exchange rate shifted in their favor. On to Section 4, defending the currency. So what is the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, actually doing about all this? Well, they've got two main strategies. First is Forex operations. The RBI has this incredible war chest of over $640 billion in reserves. To stop a sudden crash, they step in and sell billions of those dollars into the market to artificially pump up the supply. But frankly, that's an expensive band-aid. The real medicine is their second strategy, monetary measures. By raising domestic interest rates, they're hoping to attract that foreign capital back in and put a lid on inflation. And this is actually a huge debate right now. As the Telegraph editorial board recently pointed out, raising interest rates is viewed by many as the most direct, credible way to support the rupee and anchor inflation. And yes, higher borrowing costs might really frustrate some businesses and slow down credit growth. But preserving macroeconomic stability and protecting citizens' purchasing power from runaway inflation, that kind of has to take precedence over keeping borrowing artificially cheap.
Finally, Section 5, growing an export economy. The consensus among economists is pretty clear here. We have to fundamentally shift how the entire economy operates. Step 1 is promoting local products and aggressively reducing non-essential imports to shrink that trade deficit. Step 2 is urgently reducing our oil dependency, meaning a massive expansion into renewable energy and electric mobility. And Step 3, the big one, is significantly boosting export initiatives like Make in India to really enhance our global competitiveness.
Because ultimately, and if you take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this: a growing export-based economy is absolutely the best option to strengthen the rupee. If India sells more to the world than it buys, the demand for the rupee will naturally rise. That stabilizes the currency organically, without needing the RBI to constantly burn through emergency reserves. It completely transforms the nation from being vulnerable to global shocks to being a dominant player in the global market. Which leaves us with a really critical thought. You know, macroeconomics isn't just about politicians and central bankers and boardrooms. It is about the daily choices made by over 1 billion people. From the products we choose to buy locally to the energy we consume every single day, our collective habits are what shape the trade deficit. So I leave you with this question: what choices will you make today to strengthen our economy for tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.